And you're now live. You can begin.
Yay. Now, oh, and we have one. Do we have?
Yeah, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have quorum. You're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. And well, welcome to the meeting, Terry. And I'll call the meeting to order. And first item is approval of the agenda. So if somebody would deal with that, please, I would appreciate it. Brian and Jeremy. So all in favor? And we're good. Any disclosure of disqualifying interest or anything like that, pecuniary interest, anything that has to be noted? Okay, seeing none, we're good there. And approval of the minutes of July 21st. All right, moved by Jeremy, seconded by Brian. All in favor? Carrie, thank you very much. Business arising from the minutes, and it's a management and construction agreement. And Terry, it looks like you're up.
All right, thanks, Linda. That was pretty quick.
Oh yeah, we go through the opening bit quite quickly.
Perfect. So thank you, Linda. So I'm here to, I think I was asked the last meeting that I attended for the Station on the Green. The Station on the Green board had provided me some questions or concerns or requests for clarification on some of the language in the existing agreement between Clearview Township and the Village Green or the Creemore Community Foundation, I guess they're known as. And so there was some clarification, some requests for some clarification on some of the language. So what I did is we went back to, spoke to Stuart, and we went through some of the concerns that was brought forward. And when him and I went through the agreement again, we agreed that there should be some changes done to the agreement to further clarify some key points in there. So him and I, we did that. And then I brought forward those changes to council for them to review them, as a first step. Once they reviewed them, they were able to either give us direction to, either further negotiate with the Creemore Community Foundation and Stuart Lazier, if required, or approve the agreement as it was presented, or go back and speak to other stakeholders again if required. So there has been some changes made to the agreement. To again help clarify, some points in there. So, are you okay, Linda, if I share my screen? I'll bring up the new agreement.
Yeah, fine.
Well, how about before I do that, is there a need to bring forward the new agreement? I know we've shared that already with the Station on the Green Hall board. There's also my email on July 21st that I think I was hoping to clarify a lot of key points.
Yes, I'm looking here at the 4 pages where you go through the history, and is that what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking about, yes. So there's a lot of information that has been shared with the Station on the Green board. Maybe the board has enough information now, and I hopefully maybe we clarified a lot of key points. But if you require more clarification, I can always share my screen and I can always bring up the new agreement if required. So I'll leave it to you and the board to decide how you want me to proceed. Obviously here, I'm able to answer any questions or address any concerns that the Station on the Green board may have.
All right, Brian.
Terry, could you maybe just outline what changes were made to the agreement or amendments?
Sure, absolutely. So I guess through you, Linda. So the first one that was changed was the maintenance of the fountain. I have it here. So if you recall, the language with respect to the fountain was a little gray. You guys, the Station on the Green board, felt that perhaps the board would still be responsible for the maintenance or the uptake of that fountain. And the language in the agreement wasn't clear. So let me I'll read you kind of verbatim the new language. So we tweaked both responsibility components for both the village green as well as the component for the township. So the new language says, in essence, that the Creemore Community Foundation and the Village Green are responsible for the day-to-day maintenance and upkeep of the fountain. So if there's any graffiti that gets done, if there's any dirt in the fountain, if it's dirty, it needs to be pressure washed, all that kind of soft maintenance, they're responsible for with their staff. Any major renovations that's required to the fountain, such as it's cracked, it's leaking, there was a storm that went through and broke something, or major damage that was done by the public, then obviously the township's insurance would kick in at that point, and the township would be responsible for any major defects to that new fountain that's going to be built. So in essence, it's a shared responsibility between both the Creemore Community Foundation as well as Clearview Township and our department. The station on the green is not responsible at all for any components of the new fountain. The second one that was clarified is the perception about conflict of interest. And I do want to spend a little bit of time on that one. From my notes, I guess from the previous station on the green board meeting that I attended, there were some concerns about the word conflict of interest. And it is a really crazy word. And again, it's some language. And we can respect the fact that, it could be perceived that a conflict of interest means a conflict between two people. And it could be further from the truth. It's definitely not what a conflict of interest is. A conflict of interest is when a certain board person or a certain employee are in a conflict with themselves where they're representing two organizations. So I'll give you a bit of an example to help clarify. If you had an employee, if both the Station on the Green board and the Creemore Community Foundation had one employee that is responsible for both groups, and they had to make a decision. Who are they representing? Are they, which organization are they representing? And that employee or board member would be in a really bad position because they would have to pick a side. So that's where the conflict of interest language comes into play. Whereas the Creemore Community Foundation does not want that situation to happen. They don't want a person being in a conflict of interest, having to pick sides as being a representative or an employee of both organizations. So that's why that language was put into that agreement was if that was the case, the Creemore Community Foundation wanted to have the ability to have the final say on that situation of that employee or board member. And another example is, let's say a Station on the Green board member sits on the Creemore Community Foundation board. Well, they're representing two boards. So from time to time, there might be a situation where that board member is in a conflict. So that's where that language comes in. I think the Station on the Green board, if I recall, and Linda, you can clarify this, or Brian, the concern that you brought forward to me, the meeting that I attended last time, was there was a sense that, that would be an operational conflict. So what happens if, if there's a conflict with using the washrooms, or what happens if there's a conflict with using the kitchen, those kind of conflicts. That's not a conflict of interest. That's an operational conflict. So with respect to an operational conflict, the Creemore Community Foundation have the agreement to manage the Village Green Park. Station on the Green board has the agreement to manage the Station on the Green building. Those are two separate organizations. Again, we're hoping that everybody works together, with the mandate of trying to improve the facility, trying to add some events. But if there is such an operational conflict, and both organizations managing both sites have a conflict, then it's up to our department to facilitate that conflict, again, depending on the degree of that conflict. If it's something as simple as a location of a garbage can, that's something that our department can manage. If it's a major or serious conflict, and again, there's many examples that we can provide, then that would be escalated to the council level. Because at the end of the day, both properties are owned by the township, and those assets are managed by council. So if that kind of conflict comes into play, it's up to our department to manage that conflict, or it's up to council to manage those operational conflicts. Again, I just want to be clear, there's a difference between a conflict of interest and an operational conflict. The language
Gary, do you notice that Pierre has his hand up right now? I think he has a question for you.
Yep, I just want to finish my thought really quickly, Linda, if you don't mind. The language in the agreement only specifies what happens during a conflict of interest, meaning a conflict with an employee or a board member. Pierre, I guess you had a question?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, Terry. So my question would be, when you say conflict of interest, and when you used in a sentence the washrooms as a conflict of using the washrooms, is it your opinion, because I know it's Mr. Lasier's opinion, that the washrooms are there for his use whenever they wish?
So if I understand the question correctly, Pierre, you're asking, does the Village Green Creemore have exclusive availability to the washrooms? Is that the question that you're asking?
Well, I don't necessarily mean exclusive use, but that they have the right of use.
So when you say that, you mean the people that are using the Village Green lands, right? So the people that are using that park Stuart Lazier himself, like you're referring to the people that use the Village Green Park, do they have rights to use the washroom? The answer is yes. Just like any other persons that used to use the park, just like anybody that goes downtown and where the BIA and the stores promote the Station on the Green washrooms to be used for the public, it's no different for anybody else. So the answer is yes, the public has access to the washrooms.
So while we have the BIA and their use of the washroom and their contribution to the maintenance of the washroom, I'm speaking specifically for events planned by the Village Green, upwards of 100+ people. Is it their expectations that the board make the washrooms available for those functions?
Yes, the expectation is the washrooms would be available for those functions. Now, our hope is that communication is being done between both organizations so that both organizations know when these events happen. And if there's no event happening at the Station on the Green during a time when the Village Green has an event going on, then there should be no issues. The washrooms would be made available just like any other time that it is, for any other members of the public. If there's two bookings going on, or if there's a need for—
Barry, my question then is, how is it fair that we charge the BIA or accept monies from them in the maintenance of the washrooms, and yet when asked by the Village Green to supply them, they're simply saying that it's our given right to use them? How is it fair to take money from the BIA and not from the Village Green if they are using the washrooms beyond the hours of normal operation?
So just so I understand, so you have asked the Creemore Community Foundation, Stuart Lazier, for assistance for maintenance of the washroom, and they refused?
No, we have not asked that.
Okay. I think if you do that, maybe see how Stuart and the foundation reacts and answers. I don't think they're aware that the BIA, that you're accepting money from the BIA. Maybe the Creemore Foundation would be willing to provide funds for the general maintenance. I don't think those discussions have happened. I'm not aware of any wording like they've been given the right to use it. I've never used that language with them.
Gary,
so
you said in this, what you sent us on washrooms, you said, Terry, basically, you're going to get confirmation from Stewart or the Village Green and bring the results and concerns back to the station about washrooms, because you suggested that you were sure that the Village Green would bring in additional portable washrooms as required. And also it says Village Green does not want to ever put a burden on the station on the green building or in its use, on its users. So in effect, you've sort of suggested that you were going to talk to Stewart and get confirmation. And I think basically, if you haven't done that as yet, it might be a good idea for you to talk to Stewart, talk to him about making a donation to the washroom facilities at the station, because let's say it's an event that's going on in the Village Green, just as things that they've done in the community, like when there used to be the children's event that went on here, things like that. Well, that's when they basically, because of that, the BIA was helping us and giving us money. And Brian, how much money do they donate to us every year for washroom facilities?
Well, they're giving us $400 this year, plus the maintenance costs, like paper towel replacement and cleaning supplies.
And you see, so I think Terry, if you have suggested that you were going to get confirmation from Stewart or talk to Stewart about it, have you done that as yet?
Yep. So Linda, yes, that has been done. I was going to say that, but Per kind of cut me off because he had some questions. I didn't have a chance to get to that point yet. But yes, Stewart has confirmed for any medium to major size events that they have, they will bring additional washrooms on site for those events. Or if there's a double booking, if the washrooms are being used for both locations. So say, for example, there's a wedding going on at the station on the green, and there's like a major farmers market going on at the Village Green, then obviously there would be a need at that point as well to bring in additional washrooms. So yes, they have confirmed that they would bring in additional washrooms and when and if required.
What about anything to do with, have you talked to them about making a donation on a regular basis, a yearly basis to the station for washroom facilities?
No, I haven't asked them that yet. Again, I was unaware of the fact that the BIA was providing you guys funding for years. Brian, just to clarify, is it just this year they've provided, or has it been for multiple years?
It's been for multiple years. They hold events, as you know, on the weekends, quite often through the summer, which attracts large numbers of people. And our washrooms we've offered them to open them to the public, and that's a service to the BIA because it helps them as well. They've been referred to as public washrooms. They're really the washrooms for the station, but we do open them to the public. And they're owned by the township, and rightly so. But there is a maintenance cost, of course, with use of them. And so BIA has recognized that and assisted with that.
Yeah, and thanks, Brian. And the township has provided additional assistance for this year as well, due to the extra COVID requirements, right? So yeah, I mean, if you'd like, Linda, I mean, there's multiple ways we can do this. Either the Station on the Green board can approach Stewart or that committee, and you can ask for that additional assistance. I have a sense that they would be in favor of providing additional funding or assistance for the cleaning of the washrooms if you ask. If you'd like, I can ask on your behalf. I'm okay with that as well. I can go back to Stewart and ask them. So again, Brian, just to clarify, you said $400 this year. Has it always been around the $400 mark? Because I'm pretty sure Stewart's going to be asking, how much they have provided in the past, just to kind of gauge a number. Or how about I ask this, what number would the Station on the Green board be looking at them wanting to provide some financial assistance?
I would think the number would depend on the volume of people using it over, going forward. I don't know. I could suggest the same as the BIA. And that's the BIA is actually paying for supplies on top of the $400. Additional costs are covered by them as well, up to a certain amount. Linda, I think you have that agreement with them somewhere.
If I do, I'm sorry, it might even be in Bill, in the big book, because
Yeah.
I don't have it.
In the
I
big
don't
book.
have it.
I don't have the big
Here.
book with me.
Here, your
Brian,
hand is up.
Linda, it's not just the cost for soap and paper, it's the cost of someone going in and installing it and maintaining it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why we get this ongoing yearly contribution from the BIA. It's not just for supplies. They also give us money just to donate to and for the use of these washrooms. So there's there's sort of two things going on here. And because, I mean, there could be or are issues, because if you think about it, our washrooms are on timers, right? So in effect, if the Village Green is running an event, but there's nothing going on at the station, and we have the timers set to go off, so that basically the washrooms are no longer available because it's closing time, then in effect, they have to negotiate with us or talk to us about the fact that they would like the washrooms open. And then also, if it's a great big event, besides the washrooms being open, they should also have the portable toilets there, depending on what is going on. Plus, when you're talking a big event like that, they may also have to make a contribution for supplies and everything and the cleaning up, because in effect, because what could happen, I hate to say it, but what could happen is we could just say, oh, that's fine, you've got a problem because it's time for us to close the station washroom. I mean, they have to deal with us and deal with that. And I'm not saying we would be like that, but in effect, there has to be some give and take in this. And I mean, the possibility, like, let's think about a wedding happening. If people have rented the station for a wedding, in effect, they're also thinking that, you've got a nice big wedding going on. You don't want a bunch of people going into the washrooms and then from there being able to get into what's going on at the wedding or at the, so there's a lot of things that have to be taken care of. Some details that have to be thought of and realize these things are going to happen. And I think this is one of the issues that could become a problem if we don't deal with it now, before anything like that happens. I mean, think about it. If there's an event going on during church, which hopefully will be back to the station on Sundays in September. Depending on timing, depending on whatever, they have to be conscious of what's happening and they have to work around it. And that's why it's going to be really, really important that whoever is going to be their programming person works very closely with Debbie, who is basically programming for the station, because she knows everything is happening. They have to work together, and it has to be done. Otherwise, we could end up in a mess. And I would like personally to solve the issues and to go through a lot of these possible issues so that we don't run into the mess. We deal with it early. Debbie?
One solution that I've thought of is when I get bookings, like I know the church is coming back September 18th. So at that point, I would let the Village Green know that they would need washrooms on Sundays if they have an event or something there, because when somebody rents the hall, they rent the whole hall. That's washrooms included.
That's right.
And we cannot have them open to the public through those events. But I'd be more than willing. I have a shower in September that's going to be in the hall from 1 o'clock till 10 o'clock. It's a $700 event, and they're going to want the washrooms. That's a Saturday. So for those as I get these events, I can let Stuart or whoever know I need a contact, or the township, that we would need, that the Village Green would need those portable washrooms through those events. Like, I'd be willing to take that.
And I have a question. And I have a question too on an issue like that. When something like that is happening, because right now on Saturdays, the washrooms are open, you know, for the public, because of course the BIA wants them open, right? You know, just for people in town. So don't we normally let just, you know, people go into the washrooms? And I think we do. People can go into the washrooms and utilize them and then leave. I'm assuming, I know that people, when they're renting, they're also renting the washrooms, but have we, to my knowledge, we have never closed off the washrooms to just general public who happen to be in town. Brian, do you think we've ever done that?
I think most of our rentals are Monday to Friday. We do have weddings, not as many as we seem to think, and they tend to be weekends. But I don't think they've been on the weekends when the BIA has held the, you know, Old Town events.
No, just a regular people wandering around town event, you know, just nothing, just, you know, they're shopping or whatever.
Yeah, I can't answer that. I'd have to, you said the doors are timed, so whatever that schedule is.
Yeah, I think generally in my memory, I think that generally if it's just, you know, people in town looking for a washroom, and there's no special event going on, there's nothing, but there might be, say, a shower going on at the station. People do go in and out and use the washroom. I think they always have. I don't think we've ever locked it off, but I don't know whether we want, you know, and again, we don't want to start doing something that upsets the BIA.
No, I meant when they have a big event and when we have something going on.
Yes.
Because if you've got 100 people going into those washrooms from outside and then 100 people for the wedding, that's a problem.
That is a problem, and I agree.
And that's what I'm saying. When I have a bigger event going on and they have a bigger event going on, I would be willing to contact somebody and let them know on this date or this date, if you guys are planning anything, we're going to need extra washrooms.
Yes, because our washrooms will be locked off at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. Pear?
Linda, and if I may suggest that those portable washrooms, should they be decided to be engaged, should not be stacked up against the building of the station, rather some other place. It doesn't look good.
Well, see, Terry, you've got a lot to talk about. Yes, sir. What would you like to say? Add to all of this.
I don't know if I have lots to talk about, Linda. I appreciate your concern, and I appreciate the fact that you want to manage and deal with these concerns now. In discussion with Stuart, and we talked in length about the washrooms, Linda, we both don't feel that it's going to be an issue. We feel confident that both organizations will be able to manage that. You guys have Deborah as your employee to take care of your bookings. They're going to have a Village Green manager that's going to be in charge of their bookings. We feel confident, Deborah already mentioned it. We feel confident that those two will be communicating constantly. And when these type of issues come up, again, we feel confident that it will be managed appropriately and professionally. I mean, we're all professionals here. We feel confident it'll be managed quite effectively. Stuart assured council that if there's any major events, they're going to bring in additional washroom if required. They want to be able to provide a good service to their people for their events as well. I mean, if there's 400 people in both locations, and there's only 2 washrooms, they're not helping anybody out.
No.
So they want to provide a good service for people that are participating in their events as well. So we understand. I mean, again, to your point, Linda, about wanting to deal with it now, they're in the process of hiring their Village Green manager. I suggest that we have to wait until they get that employee on board. Then I'm sure that the Station on the Green board will have a chance to meet that employee. Again, you can communicate some of these concerns to them. They're going to be boots on the ground. They're going to be there to manage these situations on their behalf. And again, if you need our assistance, we're here as well. We're happy to help. There's going to be a bunch of other issues that we haven't even thought about yet. Some did, the regular day-to-day stuff that will have to be managed. The good news is that both organizations have staff or contractors to manage their situations. So as long as you have that in place, it'll be dealt with.
Jeremy had his hand up.
So Terry, if I could request.
Sorry, Jeremy, I said Pear. Jeremy had his hand up first. I'll do Jeremy and then you. Jeremy?
Yeah, sorry, Pear. It may be the same point, I don't know, but Terry, to your list, it's either mental or add it, is the discussion of a per diem, a per event, per monthly, some form of a payment for the washroom upkeep. Can you please add that in the discussion?
Yes.
Jeremy, absolutely. May I request though from the Station on the Green board, you guys know your expenses, you know what it costs. Can you provide me a number or some options for an amount that you're expecting? Stuart may say, sure, well, how much are we talking about here? So if you can come up with a number per event or per diem or per month that I can bring back to Stuart. If you want me to do that on your behalf, I'd be happy to do so. Again, Linda, you can always have the discussion with Stuart as well, and you guys can hammer out a number between yourselves.
I would rather it be you, Terry, and I think Brian could come up with a number for us. Couldn't you, Brian?
Well, I was going to suggest that we could have the discussion under new business, and I can go back through past records and give an idea of how much we've received from the BIA each year. We can come to some decision as to what we're looking at.
That would be great. Thank you. And Pear, what was your comment?
It was my request that Terry speak to Mr. Lassier with respect to a construction schedule, which we never received. My request being that, as Deborah is now saying, that we have begun to schedule in major events at the station. I realize that Brian has spoken to one such rentor, and they saying that they accept the 3/4 inch gravel walkway. And my request, Terry, is that you bring to them a construction schedule which would see the work which covers the entranceway and the fully operational capacity of the station back into force and not hampered by nearby construction. In other words, let them begin putting the interlock in at the station as opposed to over by Mill Street. It makes no sense to have facilities under construction. And I would think the township should, some person with high heels walk in the gravel, break a heel and snap an ankle, somebody's going to be liable for that. So in other words, our operations are now being interrupted by the construction, which seems to be lagging far behind. I've gone by the site on numerous days and seen absolutely nothing happening there.
So,
Terry, have you got enough to talk about with Stuart?
I do, yep. So I know from discussions with their construction crew and their contractor, that is their plan, is to start the interlocking at the Station on the Green before starting on Mill Street. So that was their plan. I could reconfirm that with them to make sure they haven't changed their mind. But when we asked them to build that existing walkway with them, we also talked about getting that done as quickly as possible. At that point, they were telling me that should be done by the end of August, early September. So again, I'll follow up with them to find out if that schedule is still on on track. But that was my understanding about 2 months ago. I also have a question, Linda, or for Deborah. When's your first booking? Like, when's your first, to Per's, point?
It was actually last night, but I do have the next one, September 11th, and that is a bigger event.
And then church.
What was last night, Debbie?
It was a meeting. It was just a small group of 5 people with a lawyer.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay.
Yep. So to Per's question, yeah, I can get a renewed construction schedule, and I'll reconfirm that they plan on putting the interlocking stone starting at the station on the green location as they previously mentioned.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for attending the meeting. Are there any other comments or questions for Terry? Brian?
Yes, I'm just going back to 2 things. There's some sensitivity around the washroom issue, and maybe just explain to Terry that, and this goes back probably 2 years, maybe. And the initial question was asked by the management board, looking at it as a management issue. We asked Stuart Lazier, were they prepared to upgrade the washrooms or carry maintenance? And I think probably not having had any experience with how the station operated, Stuart said, well, no, they're public washrooms and we have the right to use them. And fairly so, but it sort of, from our point of view, it was, so we're going to bear the costs and you're going to get the use of them. So that's where that sensitivity comes from. Since then, Stuart has changed that and said now they're prepared to bring in the portable washrooms, and also, from what you've said, take a look at maybe paying for some of the costs, and that's fine. And that's, I think, comes from a fuller picture of what's happening. But just so I understand the background of why that issue seems to be an issue. But secondly, so on pages 3 to 4 in the agreement under 5 miscellaneous, where you talk about in the event of a conflict of interest, can I suggest that that sentence be separated from the previous part by calling that 2? So the first section is 1 down to that sentence, and that becomes 2, because really you're talking about a very different topic. You're not talking about an operational issue anymore. You're talking about a conflict of interest. And I'm thinking that would have been helpful to separate that in the agreement so there's no misunderstanding, because when you read it initially, one flows into the other and it appears that we're talking about a conflict in operation when in fact you're not at all. So just as a housekeeping thing, that maybe that should be separated into a different section so there's no mistaking as to the meaning of that. That would be my suggestion for that.
Terry?
And I take it that this agreement has not been signed, it's not enforced yet, it's still something that's being looked at and yet to be finalized?
So, Brian, I'll answer the second question first. No, council has put through a resolution approving the new agreement, the revised agreement, sorry. So that has been approved. If it has been physically signed by both parties, I'm not sure. That's the clerk's department, but council has put it through a resolution accepting this agreement. To answer your first question or comment, we disagree. The reason why that conflict of interest language is in that paragraph is because it refers to the village green manager. So it's that conflict of interest that I was explaining to you at the beginning regarding an employee who sits on both organizations or multiple organizations. So that conflict of interest is for that employee, and that one is about the village green manager's role. So that conflict of interest has to stay there because it's with respect to that employment, if you understand what I'm saying. If we remove it, then you're taking it out from the conflict of interest from the manager's perspective. That's why they had originally put that language in there, was in case of a conflict of interest by the Village Green manager. They called it a coordinator in the previous agreement. The new agreement, they now call that role a Village Green manager. So that conflict of interest component is for that job, their job specific. So no, we would not remove that from that paragraph. We could have another paragraph, Brian, perhaps in the future, specifically about an operational conflict, which would be separate from that paragraph. That could be looked at, but the language is there in that paragraph for that position only.
I would probably only suggest then that you use the wording that you just used in the event of a conflict of interest with the Village Green manager, and carry on from there, just to clarify, what's actually being said there.
Thank you. Anything else that we need to discuss with Terry? Jeremy?
Yeah, just one last point, Terry, that I'd like to make is that I think from Brian's comment there and from what Per said and what you've learned from everybody, I guess, from Debbie too, that, the value of trying to bake us into the process of doing this is, I think, beneficial because of these very reasons. Now, we know that Stuart has engaged lawyers to do his agreements, and I don't know if the town does that or not, but I think we need to have good clarity, and the only way you can get clarity is understanding what the basis was of the particular issue, and to me that's a huge one right there in itself. Like, it can be so misinterpreted if you took that to a court and showed it to somebody that, like, you could battle in court for days on that particular expression. So yeah, I just would urge, and back to the point, talk to us if you would, maintenance of the fountain. I don't know if anybody knows what's really involved with that thing, but that's good that somebody else has got the responsibility. But I don't know if they know what they're getting into, and I don't know if the town knows what they're getting into. Also in terms of cost and the major costs that we undertook as the board, and we sourced the money and we did it all ourselves and put a heck of a lot of manual labor into the thing. And believe me, it unless you understand those things, you don't get the significance. So it's just a comment, and I would urge and encourage you to participate with us prior to concluding agreements. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy. That's great.
And comments well received, Jeremy. We anticipate, I'll be part of future meetings for sure. There's going to be some issues that are going to come up. But I feel confident. Like I said, I know you folks. I know the folks at Village Green. They're going to hire themselves a good manager. We're going to be able to get through issues as they come up. As long as people are open-minded and, they're willing to work together, for the greater good, which is to, provide an amazing service down there in that beautiful location, downtown Creemore. As long as folks are open, we're going to conquer any of these little issues. I agree with you, Jeremy. The cost of the fountain, I think the splash pad is going to be even greater between us. And I've had those discussions with Stuart 2 years ago and said, are you sure? The fountain and the splash pad, and they're like, yeah, not a problem, okay. But it's their problem. And as per the agreement that council has in place with them, they're responsible for the splash pad. They're responsible for the fountain. They're going to have somebody there on site. I'm sure there's going to be some changes. Like, even when I went through very quickly, when I spoke to Stuart about the station on the Greens concerns, and we went through the agreement, they've even asked to change some of the language from their side, i.e. they had a program coordinator. They've now changed that role to a Village Green manager. So that had to be changed in the agreement as well. And there's a few other little things that they wanted to tweak from their end as well, because things change, right? This agreement was done before COVID. This was supposed to be built a year ago. There's a lot of things that have changed within the last year and a half. And so, yeah. And one final point I think I want to make, Linda, is that in the agreement, there's an opportunity annually for the CAO of Clearview Township, myself, the mayor, Stuart, the committee chair, and perhaps even the chair of the Station on the Green in the future. We're supposed to have an annual meeting together to talk about vision, to talk about issues, to talk about anything and everything, talk about their financials. So there is an open line of communication there, at least annually at that level. But I do anticipate having, to your point, Jeremy, greater, more communication in the future to assist in handling these issues as they come up. And our department's committed to it, Jeremy. Like, we're here to help. I'm not running away. We deal with issues in our department all the time. We're here to help. You need my help, I'm here. But again, I feel confident that your contractor and your staff and their staff are going to work well together, and they're going to manage these situations. And hopefully a year from now, we can look back and say, everything's working smoothly and it's beautiful and everybody's happy.
There.
So just a comment to Jeremy's statement earlier about being involved, and your commentary that you speak to all these people that are going to be meeting, and at the end you say, and maybe we'll even invite somebody from the board. And I'm going, this is it's all about. You're not inviting us. You're saying at the end, maybe we'll include somebody from the board. If you're meeting to plan the forward movement of these two groups, should it not be a given that somebody from the board should be there and not maybe? That's
Well, sorry, Per, but I respectfully disagree with you. The agreement that's in place is between, when there's an agreement between two organizations, those two meetings meet together. If those partners want to bring other stakeholders involved into their meetings, that's up to them. For it to be a given, as you're saying, sorry, I disagree with you. But with that being said, there is, like I said, there are opportunities, as long as they say, I'm only an employee. I'm not the Creemore Community Foundation. I am not council. If that's what they prefer to do, then absolutely. But if you're asking my opinion as an employee, if it's a given, I'm sorry, but I disagree with you.
Thank you. Anything else for Terry? Then I'd say that it is time to move on with our meeting.
Want me to stick around, Linda? I'm happy to stay on board and answer any other questions as they come up, or.
That's your call. We're fine right now, but if you want to stay around, go ahead. If you don't, you can say goodbye.
No, I'll
just
stick around.
appreciate the fact you're here.
No, I'll stick around, Linda. That's okay. There might be some other questions or concerns, and I want to be here.
All right, thank you. Well, next up is the financial report, and that's Brian. And we got the finances, so go for it, Brian.
Yes, and thank you to Kayla for getting the bank statements forwarded to me for June and July. So what you see there are the actual financial reports for the 2 months. And we're holding our own. With a closing balance in July of $6,771.29. That amount has actually gone up a bit from June. And if there's any questions on that, I'll be happy to try to answer them. One point I would like to make is I'm showing the amount that was donated in Lana's memory as a separate amount. And so we have a closing balance, and then I'm showing the donation amount, and then I have a net balance subtracting that, which is operating funds. I don't know whether we want to designate that donation amount towards something or apply it to something that we've already spent money on, such as the painting of the station or the lighting out in the parking lot or some other thing that we've done or something that we're going to do in the near future. But I think we should do something with that money, especially now that, as Deborah said, in September, we're now getting the church service is coming back on the 18th, and I think probably other groups will start returning as well. We'll have operating funds every month. So I think we, as a board, we need to take a look at what we're doing with that donation amount, because it's been hanging there for quite a while.
Jeremy?
Yeah, just a comment, Brian, that on that, I think that I'd be careful we don't just spend it as if it's maintenance money, but or just it's I think something that we can treat as a memorial fund, and something of a significantly new something, and so that's for a later date. But I just, before we sort of blend it into paying for lights or whatever, I'd rather see that as more of a memorial type of.
I agree with you, Jeremy, and I was thinking about a couple of things that may end up coming up for us that could become major expenses, and that Lana would appreciate us spending that money on. I think that at some point in time, we may have to do a little bit of upgrading. Maybe buying a new oven or doing something like a specific item or a specific something that has to be done.
Yeah.
And knowing Lana as well as I did, I mean, I think it would be, if we could, applying it to something specific and waiting until we maybe need that. And I was thinking of the kitchen area just because I did put in a request to Amanda about that kitchen inspection. And Amanda is away right now. And so I left that email with her, but Terry, I think she suggested that you could take it on, but I don't know, but apparently we need a kitchen inspection. And so, either you or Amanda, if you would be nice enough, like when Amanda's back, or you, if you could organize that, that would be much appreciated. And then we could see where we stand on it. Like, we do not, as you all know, we do not have a catering kitchen. We have a kitchen, but it's not a catering kitchen. But we still might find that we need to do some things in that area, or something else specific. Like maybe for something like what Jeremy says, like maybe we need a sound system that we don't have, something that we can say this. We can let Lana's family know what we have spent it on. Something very specific would be wonderful. So I agree with you, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you.
Any question? Oh, Terry?
And I can provide a quick update. I know that Amanda has sent the request to the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit to request their inspector to come on site at the 6 halls to inspect the kitchen. So that request has been made. I don't know if they've secured a date yet. Stay tuned. But that request has been made to them.
Okay,
they're pretty busy right
that's
now.
Important because she wanted an email from me saying that, and when I sent it right away, or when it came in, as I said, I just got that out of office information. So hopefully that will happen, and then we'll be able to work that out. Anything else about the finances? All right, the next thing is the farmer's market, and that would go to Debbie, because Debbie was called by the person who made the market, and they had a meeting because I think they're interested in, well, Debbie, take it on. What's going on with that?
Okay, they want to do the Christmas market there, or the winter market. And Diane told me that they think they have been paying unfairly. She said that over the summer months, they can pay a lot more than what they've been asked to pay, but over the winter months, they can't pay as much as their contract. It leaves them too tight. So she suggested to me that she come up with 2 proposals, which I'll have for the next board meeting, and ways to balance it over the year for them, and to not give us less money, but possibly a little more. So that's it for them. But their Christmas market, their winter market, is going to run from, I believe she said, the end of November until January.
And so they want to do the Christmas market, and they want to do the summer market back at the parking area.
Yes.
Rather than where they are at the brewery.
Yes.
And is there anything else that I missed?
No, I think that was it. They just want to balance it so they're paying less in the winter and more in the summer. So it'll be the same for us, just over, or possibly more, just over a longer term sort of thing. But she's
Hey,
gonna,
Brian, have you got that?
Yeah.
She's gonna
Yeah,
what?
I get it.
Okay, thank you, Debbie, for dealing with that.
I have the agreements. We had a law office meeting at the station last night. I did a contract for them for the minimum because they were only an hour, but then they took 2 hours and he gave me $35 in cash for the second hour. So I have that for you, Brian. And then in September, I have a wedding shower that will be $528.30. Brian, did you get the contract and the deposit yet?
No.
Okay, it is in the mail. She asked me yesterday wanting to know if I got it or not. So I'll let her know that not yet, but it is on its way. The church is coming back September 18th, and I do have their rental agreement with me that's good up until April of 2022. And so that will be an extra $142.62 per day, but I think they only pay 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And I have a wedding. I'm going through the hall with them again the end of August, but for April. And again, it's going to be for a Saturday, the whole day basically. And they're going to give me the deposit and the exact time frame when they come in at the end of August. So it's looking up. I have a few more inquiries, but I lost what I had for August because I couldn't let them know we were open soon enough. Oh, and I have another thing. Tavi, she wanted to book it for a wine tasting in August, but
Who's this?
Kavinder, I don't have her full name in front of
Oh, okay.
me. No, I don't.
Don't worry about it.
The people she was inviting decided they didn't want to be indoors at this point because of the COVID things. So she ended up hosting it on her front lawn. Now, she is going to be having more events like this, and she wanted to know if she could rent dishes, wine glasses, water jugs, silverware from the station. And I
Well, that's basically calling kind of you paying rental for the kitchen.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, I would think so too. It's paying rental for the kitchen, and then hopefully the other part of it is, though, I don't know what we normally do, but when somebody does do that, I mean, can we ask them to load the dishwasher, or do they just put everything on the counter and that's what I'm...
It wouldn't be like that, Linda. They want to take them to basically her house and use them on their front lawn with these events she's having. She's looking for tables and chairs, dishes, silverware, glasses, the whole bit.
Oh, guys, what do you think about that one? I'm not... Anybody have opinions? Brian?
Yeah, I think there's companies that do that rent out dishes and that sort of thing, like caterers and so on. We don't really have, I mean, we would have to have trays to carry all of that stuff in. We don't have that. And we just have our kitchen and stuff for the kitchen, basically. So I don't think that would work.
That would be my take on it too. The answer to me would be no. That stuff isn't for rent. It's for use if you're renting and utilizing the station, but not otherwise.
Okay. I will let her know that. I just didn't know what to say to her. I didn't know if we did that or didn't do that.
Nope. Jeremy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that was a great report, Debbie. Thank you. That's incredibly great input, and I can see you've been working in the background, Sarah, a great deal. So that's very good. Excellent.
Yes, thank you very much.
The other thing I want to introduce is, I think at another meeting, we should discuss putting the prices up at the station. I've been told by Sarah that they've only ever charged the 35 something an hour. That's all she's ever charged. And I know the other halls around here are a lot higher. So I'd be willing to do the research into what the other halls are charging, so that when we discuss it later on, I can present that information.
Perfect.
Debbie, I think that's a marvelous idea, and I appreciate your being willing to do that. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yep.
Because I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Debbie.
I also think we should look at marketing the station more. And that's, again, an introduction to a topic that maybe we should add at a future meeting.
Yeah, we have done this before. We spent money marketing weddings in wedding magazines and things like that, and basically got nothing from it. We've sort of tried a few things, but there might be some other ideas that you have that would be worth talking about. So what you should do, you know, what might be nice is putting marketing, you know, especially if anybody has any ideas for it, putting marketing on our next agenda. Jeremy, are you okay with that idea?
I was just going to say, you're going to have to do that carefully, because we don't want to get, you know, price fixing, the RCMP coming in here, checking on us and taking us.
Marketing does not have to be a big thing, nor does it have to be an expensive thing.
Yeah, RCMP coming and take you away. No, I'm just kidding, Debbie.
Yeah, he's being a goof. Thank you. Thanks, Jeremy. And thank you, Debbie, very much. Anything else? Building and lands? Oh, yes, Brian.
Just further to what Debbie suggested, can we put that on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, marketing, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we just suggested that. Yeah, marketing will be on our next meeting agenda.
Great.
Anything on building and landscaping?
Oh, there.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this would go under building and landscaping, but there is a terrible smell in the ladies' washroom. I think it might be the drains. I'm not sure. It gets worse some days and it's not as bad other days, but I do think it should be looked at.
Okay. All right. A smell in the ladies' washroom. Oh, Terry?
Yeah, thanks, Linda. Deborah, we do have some experience with that. We experience that here at the arenas quite often. A lot of times, just dump a good liter of water down the drain.
Okay.
If they're not being used often, there's a bit of a P-trap style there, and the water dries itself out, and then the smell comes back through the drain.
Right.
If you pour some fresh water down, it's because the washrooms haven't been used in a while and they haven't been washed. Usually when you wash the floor, the water goes in the drain. And it solves that problem. Your P-trap is probably dried. Just pour a liter of water and then see if that works. Sometimes it's as simple as that. We do that here at the arena all the time.
Okay, I will do that today.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else on building and landscaping? Anything that anyone would like to bring up during a current and new business section? Brian? Brian, we can't hear you. Brian, you're muted. Unmute. You have to unmute Brian. There you go, Brian.
Yeah, I muted because my phone was ringing. There are three resolutions. One was to meet with Terry and the mayor. I don't know what happened with that. And our second resolution, that's it put me on a as representative of the station with the Village Green Management Board. Again, what is happening with that? And now after hearing what Terry said about conflict of interest, I'm thinking I don't maybe want to do that. So.
Well, you know what, Brian, I had a long talk with Sue Ann Wickwire. Remember, she was going to be heading that management board.
Right.
She has walked away from that. And she and I were having conversations back and forth. And basically what I think I sent you an email about this. Basically what was going to happen is there are going to possibly be like 2 meetings a year And anyway, as I said, Sue Ann has walked away from it. And I think from what I've heard today and everything, I think we have to walk away from it, because anything that would be going on with that management board, basically the job, from what Sue Ann said to me, the job of the management board is to manage the manager of the Village Green. Don't ask me. It's she wasn't even quite sure what was going on with it. But I think she's walked away from it. I'm not sure who is on the management board at this point. And I think, yeah, I think the smart move would be that nobody from our board would be on the management board of the Village Green. Because as you say, you would come into, or you could constantly be in a conflict of interest.
Okay, well, that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me. And thirdly, at our last meeting, we passed a resolution requesting council appoint Debbie Hill to the management board.
Yes.
What's happening in that regard? Has that been done?
To my knowledge,
Yes, she received a letter welcoming her to the board. So she's an official member and she makes a quorum today.
Congratulations, Debbie.
Thank you.
yay. Thank you.
I don't know what you're going to do with all that extra pay. Just
And
joking. Kidding, of course.
any other business that anybody wants to bring up? Anything you want to say before we close off?
Yes, I have something under current new business that was moved.
Oh.
The washroom request, potentially putting forth a resolution that the Station on the Green board requests financial assistance in the care and maintenance of washroom use in the amount of from the Village Green. Did we still want to attack that today, or do you want to let it simmer?
Was there an amount suggested?
Nope, I've left that blank. I think you're going to discuss it, whether it was going to be per event, per day, per year, per month, how you wanted to look at that.
Well, Terry's going to be bringing that up, if I'm not mistaken, with Stuart Lazier, correct?
Yes, he also asked if you had some sort of amount to take forward. That would be easier.
Oh, goody.
Can we move that forward to the next meeting then? Because I can bring that information to the meeting and then we can discuss it and then move that resolution at that meeting. I don't think a month will make any difference.
No, you're right. Because the Village Green won't be ready for events soon.
We'll add it to the agenda.
Thank you. Anything else that should come up at this point? And is anybody going to be upset if I adjourn the meeting? All right, I want to thank everyone for coming. And listen, if perchance any of you have any ideas for possible new members of the board of the Station on the Green, this is me bringing this up. I mean, as you can see, like we're a little, like, we do have a few more members, but for a couple of reasons, people weren't able to attend today. But I think it might be wise if we start seeing if we can find any people who might be interested, or if you have any ideas, I would be more than willing to approach somebody and ask them if they are interested. Or if you have any ideas, because I think we are going to need a few more people as time goes on. I'm noticing a lot of gray hair here. Pear?
And are we not looking a little ridiculous here when the Village Green is going to hire one project or program manager and we want to stack the board here? Aren't we?
We just need a little help here with our board. We just need a few more members. It's got nothing to do with the Village Green. I would be saying this whether there was a Village Green or not, sir. Because some of us are going to age out of this, or we may want to retire. And it would be nice to have some other people who might be interested in becoming involved in a a community building in the station and helping with it over as time goes on, because we've got a beautiful facility, but it does require a board. And we could use a few more members. So if you have any thoughts at all, just, just see what you can come up with if you have any thoughts at all, because I know that finding volunteers is getting harder and harder these days. But if we can find anybody, it would be marvelous. Even if we could get a couple of new members, it would be just terrific.
Now, Linda, did you want to put forth a resolution, and we can also assist in advertising to recruit an additional, I don't know, so many members, maybe 4, or are you just looking to talk to the community right now?
Okay, what are your opinions, people? We do have one new member. We've got Debbie now, which is terrific.
I may also have a lady who's been talking to me about events, the same one who wanted to rent the dishes and things. She was asking me if there's room on the board here for her. So I could approach her if you wanted, and then give her your name.
Well, should we discuss this at the next meeting, people? Like, should it be something on the agenda?
Well, I think since you've opened the question, Linda, and Deborah has someone who's expressed an interest, let Deborah bring that interest forward.
That would be a wonderful idea. I like that idea. I just want to make sure that the board is happy with it.
Well, we won't know until we see.
And all right, Debbie, you and I can have a chat, or you can have a chat with this person. Does this person reasonably local then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she lives very close.
So Linda, to have that process move forward, if we can reach out and show her, hey, you can come to a meeting and see what it's all about, but it might be easier for administrative purposes to pass a resolution to advertise and recruit for a certain amount or specific amount of additional members to the board. And that way, if she does show a keen interest, I can pass her the required information and forms, and we can move it through the process to council for appointment.
Well, guys.
Sounds good.
Sounds right.
That's not the way any of us got on this board, is it? We got wrangled. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just asking opinion. Should we do that and actually put some advertising out about looking for new members? And if we're going to do that, I think we need a motion, a seconder, and a vote.
Yes, just keep in mind that when it comes, I'm hoping for a number. So if you're looking for up to 4 additional board members, just maintain in the back of your mind that once your quorum increases, you will require those additional numbers as well.
I know.
So to get quorum to host meetings and to move the business forward is important. So ensure that whoever you have being recruited does have the time to give to the board is my suggestion.
Okay, can I have opinions on this, people, at this point? I would appreciate some idea of what you think we should do.
I'm not on it long enough. No, this one's up to you guys.
I'm not seeing any opinions here, guys.
Well, why don't we replace I think there's because Lana left. I think I think we should add at least one in that respect. So
we're looking for one possible new member now. But are you in favor of putting an advertisement in?
Well, I think what Kayla's saying there, that's the sort of the process that should be followed to make it sort of a public thing, so that rather than bringing in people, I think it's sort of a democratic process is what I believe Kayla's pointing.
And none of us were brought in democratically, were we?
No, we were. You must be a Republican then, but No, but seriously, that's I would say, yeah, if we want to do it, let's do it properly then.
But what is the purpose, as Kayla has just advised, that the more board members we have, the higher the quorum number has to be. So we're not solving a question in that regard. We're just making a bigger party.
I just was hoping to get a couple of new members so that, yeah, I know then the quorum goes up. But as I say, I'm just kind of looking sometimes around the board and wondering how many, I mean, eventually we're going to have a few retirements, and we've also often have a situation where a lot of people aren't as available as we would like. Brian?
There's 4 board members not at this meeting.
I know.
So we already have a large board when they do appear. So that's
So what
9.
you're saying.
We have 9 on the board as is. And I understand what Kayla's saying, and I think she's right. However, if we do advertise and we say up to 4 people and 4 people apply, I don't know the process then. What do we do? Do we interview them, and then do we make a decision as to whether we think they'd be good for the board? Do we want to be doing that kind of, I don't know.
No, so the applications would go to council, and council will appoint board members as they see fit.
Okay.
Just as an administrative note as well, keep in mind that everyone will need to reapply to sit as a board member come 2022 with the election of municipal council. As council changes, the boards and committees change as well. I don't know if everyone remembers that argument from 2018. It was fun, but it'll happen again.
Yeah.
So you mean in 2022, if we don't reapply, that means we're resigning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easy, Linda.
Doesn't work
That sounds
quite
good.
easily.
Okay, all right. So you're saying that even something casual like this person who's interested through Debbie, in effect, we're not allowed to do something casual like that?
No, it needs to be moved. There has to be a resolution so that, like Jeremy said, we have that democratic edge to it. It's advertised to other people in the community who might not know that there's the opportunity, and they're also given that same equal opportunity to apply should they choose. But yeah, a motion has to be put forth with a specific number of people that you'd like to request to be added to the board. Otherwise, you'd just be doing kind of similar in Debbie's case, where you recommend Debbie be appointed to the board, and then 3 months later, you might recommend that Bob Joe is recommended to the board, and so on and so forth. This kind of gives you a one and done.
We can do that still.
Yes, you can.
We can just do a recommend.
Yes.
If we feel. Okay, Brian?
Kayla, does the township already advertise or make it public that people can apply for positions on the various boards?
Yes, we put out an advertisement or a call recruitment, and we put that on the website and in some of the local papers, but we do that after boards have specifically requested to add additional board members, as we're trying to kind of get into that shift where board members are appointed at the same term of council and they live out that term. And then we do it again. So it happens every 4 years instead of every couple months or.
Right.
I'm getting it. So basically,
So
I mean,
for example, Brentwood, they had a bunch of resignations. They put out a call for up to, I think it was 6. We had posted that on the websites and in the paper, and a couple applicants come in, they were pointed to the board, and they filled those vacancies.
okay. So basically, I guess we're kind of in a stall right now. I don't know what else. I was just thinking, all right, I don't know what, I was thinking that maybe some people might be getting weary or just, you know, maybe we would be looking for new people, but I mean, I'm just not sure where this goes. It seems to me like it's going nowhere. Am I correct? I mean, people feeling that way too, or is it just me?
What, the board, you mean, Linda? Or?
Yeah, like, you know, to say even to just like sort of the idea of talking to people who we know who might be interested doesn't sound like a good plan. And Debbie has somebody who is interested, but if that person came on, then we could be, you know, then if that person came on, then we would have to suggest that person. I've gotten quite confused.
Basically, it would happen the same as it happened with me, Linda.
Yeah. So, and we have, we've lost, well, Terry is gone. And Kayla, are you still here? I think Kayla's gone too. I just got a message saying that Brian Bell is now the host of the meeting.
Something's gone wrong with their system.
Something goofy. So Terry's gone and Kayla is gone.
Power might go to my head here.
I think it might. So I don't know what we're supposed to do. I was just thinking it might be nice if we, you know, 1 or 2 new board members, but I know Perry, you're correct. We'd need a bigger number for quorum. Oh, so it sounds like our meeting is over anyway, correct?
I think they must have stopped the recording and
They have. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, Debbie, just
they lost interest.
they've lost interest in us.
I think
So-
something has happened with their.
so- Yeah, something happened with them. So Debbie, just I don't know, maybe you and I can have a chat about this person who might be interested.
Sure.
And we'll see what we can go from here. But anyway, I guess I will say that the meeting is over unless anybody wants to say anything.
Perry,
Great seeing everybody again.
Well, it is nice to see folks. One of these years, we might be able to have a meeting. I do have one tacky question though. And if we are going to, when we are allowed to get back together in person at the station, I don't know when this will happen. I have no idea. Should we request that, like, I mean, I think I know most people and I know what you've done, but in these instances, is it appropriate or inappropriate to say, well, we want to have in-person meetings, but only double vaccinated? Would you be coming? Do we do things like that? Kayla isn't here and Terry isn't here, and I'm not sure what is it appropriate or inappropriate to do.
no, you set the rule. You can set the rule to say that you would expect all members to be double vaccinated.
Well, anybody attending the meeting
That's
in
what I mean.
person to be double vaccinated, is that, in the opinion of the 5 people here, is that appropriate?
I like that idea personally.
Here,
I'm not too concerned. I am double vaccinated, but I'm not worried.
okay. All right, because I would assume that everybody is double vaccinated. I just don't know whether we should say the words. And I didn't know how people felt about that in coming into a meeting where we're sitting around a table. And I just want to make sure that anybody who's at the meeting is comfortable.
I guess that when you say that, Linda, it obviously would be a township policy decision as to, so I guess we would have to theoretically follow their policy. But
Yeah, and see what the plan is, because I don't even know what they do at township council meetings.
yeah, exactly.
Like when they're getting together, are they, you know, or anything like that? So I don't know. Well, anyway, thank you very much for attending the meeting. Thank you for your time.
Can I just make a comment? I think it was very useful, but I think Terry, it was very good to get him, and at least it feels good to express your own, the concerns I think that we had rather than.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I am curious, and after having that conversation with Sue Ann Wickwire and the fact that she walked away from the management board, and just, the concept of, I don't know, I don't understand how it's going to run. I don't know what's going to happen. And the Village Green, I mean, they'll be lucky if they're up and running in a year from the looks of it. But maybe I could be wrong. How fast can construction go these days? I have no idea.
Let's put it this way. We could overlay 10,000 feet of runway. Here's some international months.
Okay.
There's
Kayla, are you back?
Yep,
Kayla?
I'm back finally.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened with our internet. It all just went down.
Well, anyway, we were just chit chatting. So basically what we're going to do, we're at the point where we're going to adjourn the meeting, and it's 10:26 a.m. Oh, Debbie?
Did you want to ask her about the double vaccination thing?
Oh, thank you. Kayla? My question is this, at first, I don't even know when we would be allowed to go back to, say, in-station board meetings. But I was just asking a question about people's comfort about, say, meeting around a table. And if we're going to do that, does the township have any policy about in-person meetings and whether the people who are attending in person should be double vaccinated to be there?
We have nothing as of yet. We're slowly working to our way back towards in-person meetings, but I don't have any further information on that. So not
Okay.
from a corporate standpoint. So not
So
at this time.
And so the chances of us starting in-person meetings in the near future is slim to nil.
I'm thinking so. I think what's going to happen is they're going to wait to see what the going back to school looks like. And instead of doing the fun open and close, they're just trying to hold off to make sure things are okay and then slowly ease back into it, if that makes sense.
Okay, so we don't have to think about it right now.
Not right yet.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Did you guys confirm what it was that you wanted to do with the board members, or are we just putting that off until next month?
Well, we're sort of putting it off until next month. I just thought that personally, I don't see any problem with Debbie just finding out a little bit about this person who might be interested. Like just as a information thing. But
Yep,
to
I'll
say,
just add it to the next agenda for consideration if you guys want to discuss it then.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And is everything else okay, guys? Anything else we want on the agenda for next meeting, or are we good to go?
Let's go.
All right, so the meeting is now called. I'm suggesting we adjourn the meeting at 10:28.